Double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. From Macbeth, Shakespeare, one of my favorite ghost poems, to the Three Witches. Every year I read that about now to put myself in the spirit of Halloween. And I know there's other aspects of Halloween that may put us in the mood. Trick or treat, candy, scarecrows. But the ghost story is really the only part of Halloween I have found that teaches us something about ourselves and helps us to learn about life. So tonight I'd like to show an example of that by telling a ghost story. Try to get the lights. Can we get the lights turned on? Would that scare anybody too much if we do that? Or,
No. Always better.
He never really cared too much about the neighbors in his city block. Never cared until the widow moved in 2 houses down. She was an attractive woman. She had green eyes, dark hair, and she always wore these long black gloves. Even wore the gloves indoors. Well, he never procrastinated in the morning. He'd get up and have his morning tea that had made, bring him, and out he'd go for a walk in the neighborhood. He'd walk around the city block and through the park. It was during these walks he'd see the widow and he would chat with her. And it was on one such occasion, as she brushed some hair back from her face, he saw beneath her glove some solid gold. He questioned her about that, and she very coquettishly responded that she had lost the hand in an accident. But to get over her sorrow, she fashioned herself with a solid gold hand, which she loved and which was, of course, very valuable. But she didn't want to draw too much attention to it, so she wore these long gloves over her arms all the time. It was at this moment that the lust was born in his heart. He had to possess not the lady, but the lady's golden hand. So he began to court her. He took her to the theater, he bought her flowers, bought her candy, paid her compliments, and he won her heart. 30 days later, they stood before the minister. They took their vows and they committed to each other to love each other until death parted them. 30 days later, he was a widower. His wife was buried in the local grave. She was buried without her golden hand. It was easy. Simple, everyday poison, simulate a waste-away disease. Nobody had a clue. She didn't, the doctor didn't, the minister didn't, the neighbors didn't. Nobody suspected murder. He took that golden hand home with him, and he slept with it under his pillow every night. It was a dark night. The clouds had covered the moon. There was a strong breeze out that blew down through the fireplace and rattled the shutters on the building. Still, he slept soundly with his head upon that golden hand. He slept soundly until the door banged open. The wind came in and swirled around, blowing the clothes and the papers and waking him out of his sleep. What he thought he saw was a green-white, bubbly glow by the door. What was that? But as he came closer, he realized it was his wife. She was back, and she was missing her hand. You stole my hand. Give me my hand. He was scared. His voice went away. His throat got dry. He couldn't speak. He fell back into the bed. This green-white phantom got even bigger as it approached him the second time. And she said, "You stole my life and you stole my hand. Give me back my hand." He fell back onto the pillows. He felt the stiff of the golden hand against him. Ah, he still had the golden hand. But then he felt it twitch. He felt it move as the phantom, who once was his beautiful wife, swooped down upon him and shoved his face into the pillow and suffocated him into green dust. It all went dark. The maid came in the next day with his morning tea, as was his case. He lay dead on the floor. He had that gold hand clutched around his throat. Lights, please. Now, I would suggest there are several lessons that could be learned from this story. I see a few nods, I see a few suspicious eyes. Well, I would suggest to you, thou shalt not steal. The lesson's right there for you. Perhaps it is, make sure you marry for true love only, not for possessions. Perhaps it's, if you're going to steal your wife's golden hand, have her cremated, don't bury her. Even Shakespeare in Macbeth gave us a lesson in that poem to the three witches. And so if anybody needs to know how to make a brew, turn to Macbeth and you can learn. Double, double, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with baboon's blood till the charm is firm and good.